West Coast Avengers. West Coast Avengers. Ah! Ah! Good evening, everybody. It's your pal Dave. I hope everybody's having a great weekend, or they had a great weekend. I mean, there's still, even if you're on the East Coast, there's still a couple hours left in your weekend, and then it's off to Never Never Land, and then up to work again, and then you go home and you eat some dinner again. Okay, I'm sorry. Hello. It's the first weekend of February. And I'm here to welcome you to the month of February. We've already nailed the first month of the year. We got it out of the way. Time is a flat circle, also a social construct. Plus Jackson in the house. Ayo, Chief French. Uh, I had a good weekend. You know, I ended up shipping a lot of comic books all over the country. Thanks to a lot of people maybe watching this, maybe some people not. Um, yeah, it was a pretty eventful week. I had Wednesday was great, and then Thursday I hopped on Instagram with Maddie Comics, our friend, and I did an hour sale with him, and then we did it again on Friday, and yeah, sold some books, sold a lot of books. And what did I do today? Oh, today I watched. You know what? I'm feeling DC right now, just like everybody else. There's a lot of talk, but I'm a DC fan for the most part. I'm a Batman fan, all right? Let's be honest. But I just threw on Dark Knight Rises again today, and I watched that and I enjoyed it. It's the most beautiful bald comic guy in all the land. Uh, Thank you, Brady. I'll take that. I won't even be modest. I will take that because beauty is on the inside, and what's inside me is a bunch of blood and guts. Anyway, um, so yeah, it was a fun. I watched. I feel like I watched something else that was comic book related. Oh, I threw Shazam on again this week and watched that, and that's a fun movie. Zachary Levi's great. I think that's and this is I want to talk about DC tonight, the movies, the comics, the announcement. I'm gonna rip this box of Bernie Wrightson cards from 1993, Master of the Macabre. And maybe I'll pull an autograph out of here. And Bernie left us a bunch of years back, so be nice. Dark Knight Rises. Mr. No Love says Dark Knight Rises to me is the best comic book movie of all time. I absolutely love that movie. It's not my favorite, but I love it. We already know that. I quote it a lot. You feel in charge. It's funny. I rewatched that. I also rewatched. I'm gonna take these off. Actually, I don't need them on. I rewatched No Way Home very recently. Comic book movies are fun, but goddamn, they're goofy. Like they're just goofy. What's up, Armando? I'm here for the DCU talk. Excited to hear your opinion. Yeah, I have a lot of opinions on DC in general. Besides, just not just the movies, but the comics as well, and Batman, like I said. But I also like Swamp Thing. I've read a lot. Well, we'll talk about the announcement, Flush. We'll get to it. I rewatched it again, but I can share with you actually. Good evening, RMS. Crow number 2. I don't know if you're talking about the book or the movie, but either way, if you're talking about the movie, I don't want to see another Crow movie. I just don't. I don't. Can we talk about how it's either Bernie or Bernie? Yes, we can. We can. Yeah, I think it was a Hollywood thing, maybe, or maybe not. But yeah, sometimes his stuff was under Bernie, Bernie, and then Berni. It's very weird and arbitrary. Um, A lot of people hate the Bane, but I love that. Yeah, Hart. Of course, Tom Hardy crushed it. He crushes everything, and he was menacing. Okay, so here's my hot take. Um, well, it's not much of a hot take because when you think about it, what Heath Ledger did, it was a performance. It was amazing. But in the menace of a villain, Bane was a better villain because he pulled no punches. I'm not saying that Tom Hardy's performance was better than Heath Ledger, but I'm just saying as a villain, I was more terrified of what Bane could do or what Bane would do versus what Joker would or could do. Because in the end of it, Joker knows that he's only, they made each other. Well, it's different versions of the Joker. Anyway, DCU announcement was what? Who? Well, it's okay to be lost on the announcements. We're going to talk about it. Batman Begins is so good. It's so good. The trilogy's amazing. But that being said, as much as I love Nolan's movies, I think I'm digging what Matt Reeves and Pattinson did in the first movie. And obviously, time will tell because the first movie was fantastic. And the more I think about it, my favorite Batman movie overall. But if the next two are clunkers, then I'm going to look back and be like, oh, we got one good Batman movie with Pattinson and Reeves versus three. Um, he's here and he's sitting down with Dave. Mr. Tripp is in the house. Mattis is up. What's up? Mattis is in the house. Bane was so fucking quotable. I mean, the thing is that yeah, just Bane, like he just came on and he didn't let up. Even if he wasn't the mastermind behind it all, he was just menacing. He was great. Um, well, maybe you'll get a Batman Beyond. I think you're not going to get a live action Batman Beyond anytime soon, but you'll still have animated, and then maybe they'll do more animated. Batman was incredible from a dark mood standpoint, and I love Tommy as Gordon. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, why can't I remember? Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman was great. Oh, you mean Jeffrey Wright? Jeffrey Wright was great actually as Gordon as well. What's up, Johnny? Jeffrey Wright's fantastic. Jeffrey Wright was fantastic in that movie, and he's continues to be fantastic in everything he's been in. I mean, just to name a few, you've got the Bond movies, the first season of HBO Westworld. He was great in. He's been great in everything. He was even great as one of the voices in Last of Us too. Putting Dark Knight Rises on in the background now. Do feel in charge. The best thing about Dark Knight Rises, though, the best misquote was my buddy Scott when we first saw the trailer. I think for it, he's like, "Did he just say I'm Gotham's rinky dink?" It sounds like he says I'm Gotham's rinky dink when he says reckoning. And by the way, it depends on how I feel, but I might give the however many people are in the room at the time a special treat. We might watch an entire episode of West Coast Avengers that has yet to air. So maybe I'll do it. But all right, let's talk about the DCU announcement. I want to get into the box break, but we can do that while we're talking about DC. All right, so I watched it a couple times, and I love James Gunn. I think James Gunn not only a fantastic writer, director, visionary, but he's also just like a super nerd. Like what we all wished that Kevin Smith was when it came to his nerdiness, that he just gave us a little bit of in Mallrats, is what I think James Gunn is in real life, like for everything he does. He comes from a horror background, Slither and the trauma movie. Did he do Tromeo? No, he didn't do Tromeo and Juliet. Anyway, Slither is the first one I remember him from. But Guardians of the Galaxy, all three. He's produced a bunch of movies. He's a fantastic, like I said, a filmmaker altogether. Let's see. Here we go. Share screen. Let's get the. Here we go. Okay, here we are. I'm going to share the screen. So this is what's coming up. That's already been filmed. That's part of the reset, right? Shazam: Fury of the Gods, which. It's probably going to be another fun one. Let me get. Oh, there we go. And then you've got The Flash, which is obviously marred with certain things, but there's a lot that's supposed to be the reset. And then Blue Beetle, which is filmed and coming out on HBO, and then Aqua Bro 2, which I hope, like, after Aqua Bro 2, we are done with Aqua Bro. I like Jason Momoa, but Jesus Christ, give him a different role and tell him to play a character and not himself. Um, because, like, when you think about actors that are really good at playing themselves that you enjoy, that don't get old, like a Jason Bateman never stops playing himself, but he's great. All right, so have Michael Keaton play Bruce Wayne in Batman Beyond. Not a bad idea. Well, that's what they were kind of gonna, I think, supposedly do with Flash, but I think they cut Keaton's part out, or they cut Affleck's part out. Gunn did Scooby Doo. That's right. I forgot about that, which is wildly a stoner movie wrapped up in a kids movie. Yeah, exactly. Holy fucking deed. Supergirl. I haven't read Supergirl. I'm gonna read it. I'm actually gonna keep a list of things that I want to read because I just I always end up clocking out of DC before anything else. Supergirl. I will read all the classic Batman that I can read, and I'll try stuff. But I tried reading Flashpoint. I tried reading certain things in the Jeff Johns universe, and I hated it. And then when Jeff Johns and Jim Lee did that Justice League, I bought the first like 3 or 4 issues, and I was just like, what the fuck am I reading? Pardon my language. Um, Hopefully, no more Ezra. Look, people like him, but yeah, he's got a slew of problems that hopefully he actually addresses. But still, I think he's out after this movie comes out. Momoa as Lobo would be sick as long as he like tries to play Lobo and not playing Jason Momoa Lobo. Dude, I've tried. I tried it on several different tried on several different times, and I've read some of it. And Ennis's Avenger Bendis Ennis's. He's supporting Ezra James Gunn. Interesting. Well, look, people have problems, and if they can get past them, then they can get past them. That's not for me to decide if that's okay or not. That's up to them. Um, so yeah, this is the slew, and I have faith that they are going to put all this stuff out, but I do love this. One of the things I love the most is the fact that this bottom realm right here is all Elseworlds. It's all Elseworlds. So they can do what they want in the Batman universe, and I get to keep it. Like Joker is also disconnected from the Batman movie, so that's great. You've got two completely different. I do love. Um, I do really love what they did with Joker and obviously what they did with Batman. Joker 2 is going to feature Harley Quinn. So that I think what I got to imagine it's going to be is going to what I imagine about the Joker movie. It's going to be he's going to be all drugged up in Arkham, and he's going to meet Harley, and it's going to be this wild, weird, like kind of drugged out movie where he thinks that it's a musical. After the Batman announcement, I went out and ordered the Grant Morrison Batman Omni. So I'm gonna give Grant Morrison another try. He is probably my least favorite writer in all of comics, and like when you talk about the pantheon of modern comics writers, like post Moore and Miller. You got Morrison, you got Ennis, you got Miller, you got Bendis, and like I love the last three, but the only thing I've really ever liked of Grant Morrison's was the Superman All-Star Superman, and I'm not even a Superman fan, but that was a beautifully written book, and it was beautifully illustrated by Frank Quietly. Trash Flash. Brady thinks that Ezra's a trash Flash, and I just like the fact that that's a nice little rhyme, Trash Flash. Superman and Lois isn't bad. I haven't picked it back up again, but the first season. Okay, so I never watched it. I watched the old one back in the day with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher. But the funniest thing is whenever I see an ad for the Superman and Lois show, I'm like, why does Superman have a 5 o'clock shadow and looks like he literally got out of a bar at every point in that show? Like he's just constantly drunk. Joker's most anticipated, but I think Batman 2 is probably more so, but we don't know anything about it yet. Also, I've totally stuck with Titans for 4 seasons. It's great. Not sure if I'm alone on that. People love Titans. I've never watched it. I've never watched it. So people have told me to watch that. I really want to watch the Swamp Thing show, and I'm asking you people. What do you mean, you people? I'm asking the crowd. Is Swamp Thing available anywhere to watch anymore? Because it's to my knowledge, every time I've looked for it on HBO, it's not there unless they've buried it in the swamps. Authority's going to be wild. It's clearly the Authority is DC's answer to, which kind of is funny, but like the Authority is going to come on the success of the fact that The Boys is one of the most popular shows on streaming. And it's really funny because when you look at who wrote The Authority, it's Morrison, and it's Miller, and who wrote The Boys, it's Ennis. So the UK invasion, the second wave of UK invasion, is probably my favorite. It's probably my favorite wave of comics writers, or maybe my second favorite, because I just remembered Neil Gaiman's my favorite writer, and he's the first wave of the British invasion. But so Moore and Gaiman kind of paved the way for the fact that Morrison, Ennis, and Miller really came about as writers and the stuff that they were writing. Hello from down under, my friend. The best Nightwing actor, Jason Todd, was phenomenal. Superboy actor was great. Maybe I have to watch it. Maybe. Just sit down. I watched some of Doom Patrol. It was fun, but it never really hooked me. All right, so that's 2 for Titans. It's a little WB, of course. Yeah, the WB shows have always had that vibe. Swamp Thing is only available to buy on Apple, can't get anywhere else. All right, well, that's good to know. I guess I'll have to illegally download it. But yes, the second coming of the British wave, Garth Ennis. Okay, so Ennis writes The Boys. He does Preacher. He does and it's not even arguably, he does the best Punisher, period. Like every other Punisher is down here. Ennis's is all the way up here. Like it's so far up here, it's not even on screen. Mark Miller goes on to write some of the most influential Marvel stuff in Marvel's history, in their most recent history. Civil War, The Ultimates, which if you read the first story of The Ultimates, it's exactly what the Avengers turned out to be in the MCU. So I knew this was going to evolve into my favorite writers in comics and then talk about DC. So the Boys comic, okay, so here's my take on the Boys comic versus the Boys show. I read the Boys when it came out. It's the show times a million, but I think the show's better. Garth Ennis does go on, it's not even that he goes on his tangents, but he just, sometimes when you're like satisfied that he goes far, he takes it one step further and you're kind of like, it's a fun comic, but the show's much better, to be honest. You know what the thing is with the Boys comic? You get lost in it because there's so many names that you have to remember, and like all these kind of political business background stuff in the story. I think you should stick with the show if you never read the comic, but you can. So Paradise Lost is Wonder Woman. That I did know. I don't know if that's based on a story, Paradise Lost, or it's like, like based on the Paradise Lost story or a specific Wonder Woman story. No, the show's so much better because what the show The Boys does, it takes, I don't remember how many issues The Boys ran, 72 or something like that, or into the 70s. And then you've got a couple of offshoots like Highland Laddie and Herogasm. But yeah, the show takes the best parts of the book and makes them a little bit more digestible, but still, the most wildly, explicit R-rated thing. So I'm not saying you shouldn't read the comic. I read the comic and I think the show's better. Casting in The Boys, yeah, that's the thing. So obviously, if you know anything about the Derek, I guess it's Derek Robertson, Derek Robertson's art, and I'm sure Miller kind of did this on purpose, but Huey is Simon Pegg in the comic. Like he is modeled after Simon Pegg. He looks just like him. But by the time the show comes out, Peg's a little too old to play Huey, so they get what's his name, Randy Quaid, Dennis Quaid's son, and he's fantastic. But Butcher, Carl Urban as Butcher, holy shit, it's absolutely perfect. Mattis just started reading The Punisher by Ennis. Really, really, really. So yes, that comment, yes. My first exposure to Garth Ennis was actually, I can't remember if I read Preacher before I read Punisher, but the first Punisher that I ever read of his was Born, and that was like Marvel Max when they still had the balls to put out, you know, mature content comics. Marvel Max Punisher Born was a 6-part, I think, yeah, 6-part series exploring, or maybe it was 4, exploring Frank Castle's time in Vietnam. And at that time, I had not read any of his Punisher, and I was just like, holy shit, this is violent, but this is well written. The art's fantastic. And Ennis's Punisher was always with Steve Dillon, and Tim Bradstreet did the covers for most of the Punisher run. So it's like you get to know this creative team, and it spans like a couple of volumes, because there's like Punisher Max. There's there's two distinct books. There's like the Punisher one that was Steve Dillon, that it was like Punisher versus Kingpin, and now the woman mafioso, and he kills, like Ennis kills everybody, and it's just violent. But then when Marvel Max came out, the Punisher run with you get Barracuda introduced, you get some really good, just beautifully drawn, perfectly written books. You never get tired of it. So yeah, Ennis's Punisher, best Punisher book ever. I don't think Disney will let Punisher become anything, because, yeah, well, that's the problem. People co-opted that, and it might take a little time, or they just reinvent the character a little bit. I mean, the problem is you have such good casting with it. You may not. I don't think we'll get a Punisher movie or show, but I got to imagine at some point they got to throw Bernthal into one of these street level based shows. I don't know though. Maybe he doesn't use guns. Maybe he just beats people to death, which is okay too. I mean, I never had a problem with Punisher killing criminals, because it was a comic. It's not real. Anyway, so yeah, Jason Aaron's Punisher. I don't think I ever read Aaron's Punisher. I started reading Becky Cloonan and Dylan's Punisher, and then Steve Dillon passed away, and I just I fell off on whoever took over after that. And there's some good Punisher stuff that's older, like the stuff that Jim Lee was drawing back in the late 80s, early 90s is cool, but it just wasn't written as well. Okay, so Aaron's doing Punisher now. Oh, that's right. Okay, maybe I knew that. But yeah, so I think that's the problem. You need to either show how neutral Punisher is in dishing out justice, or you reinvent him entirely. Yeah. That is what I mean. I think the litmus test is going to be what they do with Daredevil on the Born Again series, even though they kind of did a lot of the Born Again stuff. Born Again's really brutal. I mean, the Kingpin puts him through hell, and then they get what's her name, strung out on heroin. I want to say Jessica Jones. It's not Jessica Jones. It's Karen Page. But yeah, do him justice or don't touch him. That's also fair. I mean, the other thing is, we also have to remember they're not pandering to us as much as they're pandering to the audience and general public. And so, the good thing about comics is that if you don't really like what's going on in the movies or TV, you can just go read your favorite books again. But there's so much to read that maybe some of us haven't read. Which brings me to a little topic, and I think everybody kind of saw this coming, but the next book club, which is this month, I figure, let me look at my calendar here. I figure I'll ask people to read this by the 26th, but we're going to do one of the greatest Batman stories ever told. And speaking of British writers, next book club for the West Coast Avengers is going to be The Killing Joke. I'm definitely not going to stick to doing just, Marvel and DC, but I wanted to start off pretty strong with some classics. And we did Todd's Torment last week, and in a couple of weeks we're going to go over The Killing Joke. Still very much in print. There's multiple editions you can get. It is not an expensive book to buy. Actually, I think the Absolute edition was like, I looked on Amazon the other day, it was like 34 bucks for the Absolute edition, which is a giant size hardcover, which I might get, but this is the deluxe edition. This is the recolored one, and it looks so much better. It's recolored by Brian Bolland, who did he did the art. So he didn't color it originally. They had him recolor it because he wasn't really happy with what I forget his name is. I want to say Bill Jemis. It's not Bill Jemis. Whatever his name is. But the original coloring job he didn't like, so they recolored it. But yeah, so the official book for the February Dave Venger Book Club is going to be Killing Joke. So you guys, if you don't have it, pick it up. It's written by Alan Moore. It is one of the classic Batman stories, but also one of the most hard-hitting Batman stories. And it is, it's fantastic. I'm excited to reread this. I haven't read this in probably about 6 or 7 years. I looked through it a couple of times because I absolutely love the art. But it is it's an Alan Moore script, so you're going to want to read it. Killing Joke is the second comic you ever read, Hush being the first. Not a bad 1-2 punch there. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. Yeah, we'll get Higgins. There we go. Higgins. The Absolute, I'll probably pick one up to flush, unless I decide to get yeah, that's the one I'll get. Higgins was the one who colored it. I had this on my shelf for a minute. I'll have to finally read it. Yeah, you're not gonna be disappointed. You might have a sick feeling in the pit of your stomach at some of the plot, and the scenes in here, but yeah, it's fantastic. So that's going to be the second book for the official Dave Venger Book Club. There's a lot of things I want to do in the future, but um, I think for the intents and purposes of getting more people involved, you have to go with the blockbusters, I guess you could call them. And then once I hook more people in, we'll start doing stuff like maybe the first maybe we'll do Lone Wolf and Cub, like the first 5 issues of Lone Wolf and Cub, or Akira, or no, that's a blockbuster. I don't know, but I want to get into some independent stuff as well. So that's right, the noir version. I wish they did the noir version in the Absolute, but can't have everything. So yes, 3 weeks we will be talking about this. 3 Sunday sit downs from now. So you have 3 weeks to read Killing Joke. I will say this: the Batman animated version they did of this is good, except they added stuff in there that wasn't in the book, and it did not help the story. It actually made the story. It watered down the story. But I will say this: the one outstanding thing about the animated movie for Killing Joke is that Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy do the voices, and when it comes to Batman and Joker, some of the most iconic Batman Joker dialogue scene I can think of is at the end of this book. Oh, deluxe edition says $12.99. There you go. So you can get the deluxe edition. See, it's really not an expensive book, because it would not make sense for DC to have probably what I imagine is one of their best-selling books to be expensive. Make it obtainable for everybody. That way, everybody can read it. So that's cool. I mean, take it from me, it's cool. I'm the guy with the show, right? Before we get into the Bernie Wrightson box break, who, by the way, if you are not familiar with Bernie Wrightson, he is the co-creator of Swamp Thing. He is a legend. The episode I dropped last week is all about his Frankenstein. See, Jim knows good books. Jim's been reading comics for longer than every single one of us in here, just by the sheer fact that he's older than all of us. Uh, but we'll get to that in a second. I had Batman the Animated Series on last week while I was working. It still blows. Yes, Batman the Animated Series. All the love in the world goes to X-Men the Animated Series, but Batman the Animated Series is by far the best comic book adaptation animated series. It's so good. I mean, it's Art Deco, it's beautiful animation, it's Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, Kevin Conroy, and Mark Hamill. You know, you can't really beat it. And they do the Rogues Gallery for Batman so well in Batman the Animated Series. It's a travesty that any other animated series ever existed. That's right. Jim Healy is in the house. So before I do that, just a little update. I got a couple of my books back from the Todd signing. Some of you might have seen them already. They are for sale, but it is this 9/8. Wait, let's get this into a bigger screen here. 423 Virgin black and white edition, and then the trade dress with the full sig. So those came back. Of course, I got my ASM 301 back, and it was a Mark Jewelers. It was signed, and they forgot to put Mark Jewelers on the label, so went back to CGC with a big old fuck you. I doubt any of Dave fans are 77 years old. That's true. Except for my dad. That's it. Good to see you. Of course, Jim. Of course. Good to see Flush also. So Bernie Wrightson, co-creator of Swamp Thing. And then let's talk about that again. I'm going to flash this on the screen again. This DC, the DC announcement. And we'll take a look at the fact that Swamp Thing is right there. Wait. Uh-oh. Nope. Where'd it go? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We lost it. There it is. All right. So Swamp Thing's towards the end of the slate. There was a Swamp Thing movie back in the 80s. I remember seeing it as a kid. It was not good. But it was kind of charming that it wasn't good. And then there's been the series. I recently read this, which is the first 10 issues of Swamp Thing. It's a lot of fun. And then I started reading the Alan Moore run, which is wild. I mean, this is good, but the Alan Moore run on Swamp Thing is a must read. Try the first trade paperback and see what you think about it. It's creative, and the artwork was it Stephen Bissett and John Toddleman. The layouts on that book are insane. Just some of the wildest stuff. This is more kind of by the numbers, but still enjoyable. It's pretty funny when you read this and you see that like the Swamp Thing goes literally finds himself around the world in the first 10 issues. He also meets Batman as well, and I was just trying to show you something that none of you saw. So let's get rid of this and go back to that. So yeah, Swamp Thing, Bernie Wrightson, Len Wein, and then goes to Alan Moore and Stephen Bissett and John Toddleman. So this I'm going to open up is a set that came out in the 90s to 1992 to be precise. And let's just do this. Guys, there we go. And I picked this box up at Iguana Comics in Southern Oregon on my road trip with Dave Correa a couple weeks ago. FPG put this out, and if you're not familiar with FPG, they used to make cards, but they also make art books now, and they put out the art of Bernie Wrightson, which was all the art from this card set. They also just put out, and it still hasn't shipped yet, but they put out the Joe Jusko art of Marvel Masterpieces 1992, which is he had a Kickstarter for. And in that Kickstarter, I backed it, and I'm getting an original painting from Joe Jusko. That's right. There is an Absolute. It came out last year. Another thing you could pick up, too. The Absolute Swamp Thing. So we could keep talking about DC. I'm going to open this up. But, so I'm a Batman fan way beyond any other, like when it comes to reading comics, way beyond any other character. So I will always recommend, I could recommend you 15, 10 or 15 different things to read in the Batman section. But if anybody has any other recommendations, I've this is one of the most classic images that he ever did. This I don't know who it's supposed to be, but look at all those severed heads on the fence there. These, when flushed, these were created in 1992. So this box is 30 years old that I'm opening up. Hopefully these, oh, two in a row, the same card. Gotta love it. Mementos. That's what the name of this painting is. One of my favorite all-time pictures, gross and funny at the same time. Well, what do you expect to a guy who thinks Ed Gein is a role model? So Mementos is the name of this card. It's one of Bernie's most famous non-character paintings or images. It's absolutely beautiful. Bernie Wrightson also worked on the Creepshow graphic novel, which was the Stephen King movie. And Stephen King was a huge fan of his. So, when you got the master of horror in writing talking about a guy like Bernie Wrightson and how much he loved his art. And Frankenstein, these are images from the adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein he did. I'm going to do this and do this. Okay, there we go. Whoa, these are awesome. Put together a set of these. By the way, if you could hit the like button, that'd be nice. If you could watch one of my videos, that would be nice too. If you didn't watch this morning's video, but if you saw it live, I understand. Anyway, I'm thinking that if we get to 8:30 and I'm done with this box, do you guys want to watch something absolutely ridiculous, a live watching of something that's going to premiere next week? You guys could get a free preview. It's ridiculous. You are sure to laugh. It's probably about 12 minutes long. 1992 had some great non-sport cards. That's true. There was the Marvel Masterpieces. There was Marvel Universe Series 3. Was there Spawn cards that year? Ooh, look at that. I got a hollow. Ooh, look at that. It looks like a vampire getting staked through the heart. Thank you, Flush. So that's the first, I guess you would call it, hit. Just try to get these cards unstuck without ruining anything. There we go. Does anybody in here? All right. So my favorite Batman story of all time is the Batman Dracula Elseworlds. Speaking of Dracula, Killing Joke is up there. I really enjoy Long Halloween. So these are all books that I would love to go over at some point on the channel, get some guests to talk about so we could have some interesting conversation, just like we did last week. And these are fun. So once I'm done with this pack, I'm going to take a look and see if they show the odds on back. Lots of duplicates here. Keep holding these in the wrong place. All right, so there are autographs in here, Bernie signed cards. There was, look for one of 3 different horrific holograms, look for one of 1,000 randomly inserted boxes, but it doesn't say how many boxes there were. Oh, 90,000 boxes. So what is that, a 1 in 90 chance? No, wait, 1,000 cards, 90,000 boxes, 1 in 9. Somebody tell me the odds on that. My brain is not going to work while I'm opening these packs. 90,000 boxes. Autographs are 1 in 1,000. There's 1,000 autographs. Is that a 1 in 9 chance? 1 in 90 chance? Help. Gotham by Kick and Wing. Gotham by Gaslight. So Gotham by Gaslight, the first Elseworlds book that DC ever did. For those that don't know, Mike Mignola, P. Craig Russell. I know there's 2 other names involved in it. And Batman goes up against Jack the Ripper, or looks for Jack the Ripper. It is a highly recommended read by not just Kick and Wing, but me. It's a graphic novel, but it's a thick boy pretty much. It's a 48-page or 52-pager, very easy to get through. Highly recommended. And then Kick and Wing also mentioned Court of Owls, Court of Owls, a Court of Owls, Court of Owls, Court of Owls was the launch of the New 52, and Batman restarts with issue number 1, written by Scott Snyder and illustrated by Greg Capullo. They created the Court of Owls, which is like the Illuminati, the secret society that started Gotham, and that such a brilliant and such an inventive. Ooh, look at that one! Such an inventive storyline. I recommend reading the entire run of Snyder and Capullo, but yes, you can start with Gotham by Gas. You can start with Court of Owls because that's the first storyline they did. So this is nice. It's like a mix of all the different art he did, but the black and white is all from the Frankenstein, the Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Another Batman. I think most people that are even people that are new to comics should know what Long Halloween is. But Long Halloween, Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale, just a brilliant detective story. Tim Sale, who we lost last year, top 5 Batman artists of all time. Snyder's Batman is fucking. And you know, it's really funny because, like, for younger readers or people that are newer to comics, like, legendary, it is legendary. For me, it's the last amazing Batman that I've read. But it's still kind of new in my brain, or newly released. Batman, I've been saying this for years, and I don't think that it's really much of a stretch. But Batman is the greatest literary character in the last century. I can't think of a literary character that stretches across so many genres, so many formats, so many iterations. Sherlock Holmes is the only thing that kind of gets below or around that. Matt said, I haven't read a lot of Batman, but Dark Knight Returns is probably my favorite. Or Elmer Fudd special. I never read the Elmer Fudd special, but I do remember when that came out. Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller, absolute classic. I mean, the book that changed comics forever. It's an inarguable fact. And if you've never read that, we'll do that eventually, but get on it. Just read it. I haven't read any of the Zdarsky run. I was waiting till like 10 or 15 issues were out that it was collected because I do love Zdarsky, but you guys know I don't really buy a lot of monthlies. But that being said, the best Batman book out right now, or the best book out right now, in my opinion, is the Mark Silvestri Batman Joker, Deadly Duo. If you haven't picked that up, as much as just like Brady is enjoying Zdarsky, Brady, if you aren't reading the Silvestri, please do. His Daredevil run is great. I read it up until whatever the storyline was when Kingpin, where Luke Cage becomes mayor. I read that, and then I haven't read it since. But that's just because I don't read as much new stuff as I'd like to. But I also read as much old stuff as I don't read as much old stuff as I have time for. Does that make any sense? I don't like you half as much as you think I like you, but I like you twice as much as you think I do. What? I'm 111 years old. All right, so what the hell am I even saying? The Oz Effect. Oz was a great show. Oh, that's so weird. This one has no... Okay, so this is very weird. I wonder if this was supposed to be a sign card. So all of these cards are pretty heavy glossy, and this one is not. And this one would be perfect for signing. So I wonder if they accidentally inserted some cards that were supposed to be signed, but weren't. Yeah, Deadly Duo, grab it. I if they release a hardcover, like an oversized hardcover of that, I can't wait. I'm going to buy it. Someone just released a Court of Owls motion comic on YouTube. 2.5 hours. Great voice acting, too. Interesting. I guess I'm sure I can just search it on YouTube and I'll find it. I would watch that. What are the, so it was 1,000 autographed cards, 90,000 boxes were made. So that's 1 in 90, right? Oh, here's the checklist. Frankenstein checklist. If you're able to ever find a copy of Frankenstein, the Mary Shelley Marvel adaptation, please pick it up. It is a hell of an amazing book. The art in it, I mean, you can see some of these. They look better in a bigger format. 1 in 90 chance. Okay, that's what I thought. My brain, was working, but then it wasn't. Chia. Chia. Trying to think what other, people swear by Flashpoint. I never read Flashpoint. I am not a fan of Jeff Johns' writing. I tried reading Blackest Night. I had no clue what was going on when it came out. And it was supposed to be like this great thing. Like everybody was talking about Blackest Night when it came out. It was this Green Lantern story to just kind of end all Green Lantern stories. And I couldn't get behind it. I feel like Flush, you probably read Blackest Night. I feel like you said you liked it, but maybe I'm mistaken. Oh, look at this one. All right, so here's my question about Flashpoint. How much of what was going on in the DC universe or the Flash universe should I have read or should I know before reading Flashpoint? It's really tough. It's a lot easier with Marvel, I feel like, to jump in, figure out, or just backtrack a little bit. Flashpoint is super boring until the Thomas Wayne part. Okay, minus Mira and Wonder Woman fought. I only took a crack at reading one Wonder Woman book, and it was more recently. It was when Becky Cloonan and her partner, Michael, can't remember his last name, took over, and I had no fucking clue what was going on at all. DC just seems very inaccessible to the casual reader, except Elseworlds. Elseworlds seems like the one thing that's pretty cool. Elseworlds seems like the one thing, I talked about this with you, Flush. White Knight, Sean Murphy's White Knight. It's good, but it is. I read the first story, which it's like this, it's in Elseworlds. It's its own universe where Joker is not the bad guy, or he's like trying to convince everybody he's not the bad guy, and he teams up with Batman. And by the end of it, like I knew what was going to happen. It was so predictable. So I didn't read any of the others, but his art's still fantastic. That's what I like about Sean Murphy. The book he did with Scott Snyder was really good. The Wake, which I don't think that was a DC book. I think that was an Image book. But also, it didn't stick the landing. White Knight is dope. You got to read all of it though, otherwise you get confused. So, well, and I read the first storyline, whatever it was, 10 issues, 12 issues. Well, that's pretty rad. But I didn't feel like I should keep going, but maybe I'll have to, Mike. Your recommendation means that it could be interestingly good. Tokyo Ghost was you know what? I never finished reading Tokyo Ghost. I read the first issue. Tokyo Ghost was Miller and Murphy, right? Or was that, no, that's Chrononauts. Yeah, that runs all the way up to the Batman Beyond era. Let's see what we got in this pack. Oh, I love tentacle porn. Okay, so Flashpoint is worth the Thomas Wayne story. All right. Murphy redeems himself on the back half. Okay. Well, those are good recommendations. I'm glad to hear people talk about them. It's funny, believe it or not, I don't have too many I don't talk to too many people often that read a lot of current stuff, with the exception of everybody in here. And I'm more interested to hear about what you guys have read in the DC that maybe I haven't. I can't tell if this is one card or two. It's two. There we go. Stegosaurus. I love a good Stegosaurus. Tentacle bondage. Yeah, that some of that was in the set. Oh, I love how you get like 3 Frankenstein cards in every pack. Um, right. What else? Superman. So I actually wrote down the Superman. Okay, so most people, right, that are reading current books that are under the age of 60 are not Superman fans. Let's just face it. We all know that. That's true. There are 3 Superman books that I would say I would recommend to everybody. Red Sun Superman. If you're not familiar, ooh, we got another hologram. Red Sun Superman, which is the Elseworld story about what if Superman had crashed in Russia, communist Russia, instead of Kansas. And it's written by Mark Miller. Illustrated, is it Dave Johnson or is just Dave Johnson does the covers? It's a great story, but it's Elseworlds. And then All Star Superman by Morrison and Quietly is fantastic. Here's another hollow. Check that out. Ghoulish. Um, All Star Superman is probably the definitive Superman story. And then I think one that goes under the radar is Superman for All Seasons, which is Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. It's a beautiful story told in 4 chapters, obviously, because it's for all seasons: autumn, winter, summer, spring. Each chapter is told from the perspective of a different character. I believe it's Lois Lex, Lana Lang. It's not Jimmy Olsen. It might be one of the Kents. Um, but it's beautiful. It'll stir up a lot of emotions, just like Spider-Man Blue. Superman for All Seasons is a very emotionally charged, great story. But other than that, I just can't get into Superman. I agree, though. Only like Elseworld stuff because it's contained. Exactly, Mike. Well, Brady, maybe you'll have to change that. Secret Identity. I vaguely remember who wrote that. Flush, and then Birthright. I don't think I ever read, and All Star, obviously. Um, Secret Identity, was that Tim Sale also? I haven't looked at PKJ. PKJ. Who's PKJ? Why can't I? Paul, Kenny, Jimmy. Oh, Kurt Busiek did Secret Identity. I read Secret Identity. Okay, I do remember that. Yeah, Busiek. Look, Busiek's written some of the best DC stuff. Kingdom Come. God, I forgot about Kingdom Come. If you like Alex Ross, you got to read Kingdom Come because that's another great DC story. Another Elseworlds, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So Busiek did Secret Identity. Well, that's the thing. Superman is basic. He is the tentpole for all superheroes, but there's some very sparse. Look, what? Oh, Philip Kennedy Johnson. Okay, I don't know. Um, the thing about Superman is that he is the template superhero. It's been around since the 30s, never went away. But that's what we're trying to say. It's like there are some needles in the haystack. Uh, but to each their own, because we don't all gel with the same superheroes. We all like different things. Yes, I do. But Kingdom Come is worth the read. I've never tried to read Crisis on Infinite Earths. If you want to see some great art, I can't back it up with the stories, but the George Perez Wonder Woman stuff is beautiful. Not reading Superman stories, but I love him because he is the OG. Yeah, exactly. He's the OG. He represents a lot more than just comic book character. But doesn't mean I'm going to read it all. More of a grounded reader, don't care for Superman OP characters like Superstore or Hulk. Fair enough. That makes sense. What about Daredevil, Brady? You like Daredevil, so that's a ground level character. Um, yeah, I understand that. Like we're all different people, and certain things appeal to us and certain things don't. For example, I'm trying to think. I don't. Okay, for example, I don't really like the X Men. Okay, I love the X Men. I don't like reading the X Men. It's always too fucking much. I when I mean read the X Men, I mean read the X Men. I'm not talking about just looking at the art, because I'm not talking that I don't like Jim Lee's art. I don't like John Byrne's art, but I've read so much X Men and none of it stuck with me, save for like 2 or 3 stories. Days of Future Past, God Loves Man Kills, which I just recently read. So we all, yeah, they're a mess. They're a mess. Oh, there we go, Brady. Hell yeah, brother. Buying that Swamp Thing box set. Superman's morals are more human than Batman. That's very true, because Batman is actually a mentally ill psychopath that has a lot of money. So, well, I don't need to go there. Small doses of Claremont contain storylines. Yeah, there you go. Days of Future Past is a perfect example. Swamp Thing is excellent. Yeah, I can't wait to kick through more of the Alan Moore. More. Um, I need the second trade paperback because I have the first, third, fourth, and fifth, I believe. Plus the art, Stephen Bissett's art. Toddleben does, inks, and I believe he does some art as well. Yeah. Okay, so the best X-Men book that I ever read continuously, to me, was the Astonishing X-Men by Joss Whedon and John Cassidy. That was great. That I tried reading Grant Morrison's New X-Men. I swear to God, I think that's why I hate Grant Morrison, is because that's the first thing I tried to read of his. So it's interesting though, because when you talk about the art on the X-Men, you've got some of the greatest artists to ever work in the medium, especially on that book. You got Byrne, you got Cockrum, you got John Romita, you got some Sienkiewicz here and there, you've got Barry Windsor Smith, you've got Jim Lee, you've got even the guys that came after Jim Lee. You've got 2 underrated X-Men guys, and this is just art based. Chris Bachalo and Joey Matter. Well, he's not underrated, but Joe Madureira, fantastic artist. I don't know who's doing it now, just because, like I said, modern comics just aren't. They don't do it for me as much. Go full blown absolute on the Swamp Thing. I think that's what he meant with the box set, but maybe it was the trades. Wolverine solo. Well, that's the thing. As much as I can't say that I love the X-Men reading it, I've read the first 100 issues of Wolverine. I've read, so much Wolverine in my life, and I love Wolverine. New Frontier. Well, Darwin's a legend. I don't think I ever read it, but I know what it is. The Darwin Cook, when DC did their solo series, the Cook one's great. The Cook one's great. Jason Aaron's X-Men's supposed to be great. Anybody know? I don't know, but if anybody's in here that knows, let us know. I haven't seen or read a Star Wars. I read the first 15 issues of his Star Wars and I liked it. But his Thor run's fantastic. I read the first trade of Jason Aaron's Scalped. I never finished it, and I should. Southern Bastards, I started reading when it came out. He's a good writer. He's a great guy too. Met him a couple times. Yeah, I remember reading the Morrison run, and the reason why I picked it up was because Silvestri was the artist on it, and then Frank Quietly. I didn't even realize that he was doing it beforehand. Joey Madureira, one of the shining stars of Marvel after all the guys left from Image to go form Image. And funny thing, my path with Joe Madureira would cross multiple times in my late teens, early 20s. When I was out of high school, I worked at Electronics Boutique in Long Island where I lived, and he used to come in and buy video games there. And then after that, I worked with a bunch of friends at Subway in the same town, and Joe used to come in there, and he was such a nice guy. And then we had the same local comic store too. So love to get him on the program. Not that he remembers me or knows who I am, but he's a great artist. And then he went on to do Battle Chasers. He had a really video games and all that stuff. Really successful career. We're checking out New Frontier. Sure, if I can grab that hardcover, I know it exists. Dude, yeah, Solo. Another thing, which I don't think it's easy to find the trade paperbacks, but you could find the single issues and dollar bins for Solo. And yeah, they did some. DC would actually put out these books called Solo, and they would take an artist and they would just give them the entire book. And the Darwin Cook one is fantastic. I know there's a bunch of others that I can't think of off the top of my head, but the Cook one is actually right next to it's on my bedside because I was reading it recently. Some amazing Cook panels. Yeah, another person that we lost way too young. Darwin Cook. Didn't he do a Superman book too? Am I imagining that, or did he do Secret Origin? Is that who the artist was? Because Wade Busiek was the writer. Apparently, the Oversized Battle Chasers is a nice book. Didn't they just bring it back, or they're bringing Battle Chasers back? Yeah, he apparently. Ooh, check that one out. He apparently left a big impact on like fellow creators and fellow artists. Like everybody talks so highly of Darwin Cook. And you know what I love about Cook? When you look at Cook's artwork and then you look at a guy like Bruce Timm, they kind of complement each other. I feel like those two are very unique people that worked at DC. Oh, Rocketeer. I have the Rocketeer trade paperback, the original Dave Stevens one. I need to read that also. I have a lot of stuff to read currently, and I think I mentioned this last week or the week before. Currently, I'm reading through Invincible again. I've got the first compendium, and I'm about 20 issues in. And then my buddy's got the other two compendiums, so I'm going to read all 100 and whatever issues. It's my second read through, but I've largely kind of forgotten a lot of it. My brain is easy to compartmentalize and like forget things on purpose so that I can enjoy them again. Wish you could do that with certain people, but hey, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. This is these cards are so much fun to look at the art. It's interesting. I'm getting a double in every pack. But Bernie, man, ooh, there's the box art right there. Rocketeer stories, okay, it's beautiful art. Maybe one of the best character designs in the movie. Holds up. Yeah, that movie was great. It was a Disney movie, wasn't it? I remember seeing that when I was a kid. Those Foon books were design-wise, Cook Solo has it. Yeah, yeah. It's really it really is such a pleasure to go through that. The best story in there, like I like the one with the double cross, but there's the solo story that's kind of autobiographical about how he got his first paints. 144 issues. Oh, dude, it's so sick. That's something that I can. Okay, so take a break for a second. We'll get back to this in just a sec, but so anybody who's not into Superman, and like I said, I'm not into Superman, but Invincible is everything that Superman should have been at some point. Like they should have really done what Kirk. Well, it doesn't matter, but Kirkman did with Invincible what we all hoped that we would get from Superman one day, and it's basically like the plot. And I won't give anything away about like the intricacies of the plot. But the basis of it, if you've never read Invincible, is what if Superman had crashed to Earth with his dad, and then well, no, I can't even go. Well, okay, no, I'm just gonna say this because if you haven't read or seen the series, then I can't help you. But what if Kal-El's dad was actually a conqueror? That's just the skeleton basis of the plot, but it's just feels like you're reading a character that you could see yourself knowing, being friends with. It's somebody you can definitely associate with and get on the, kind of get into that person's head, because he's a high schooler. Um, he's a lot more mature for his age because he has to be, because he's invincible. Um, it's violent, it's funny, it's got a lot of great references. Ryan Otley joins in on issue 8, and by God, he is one of the greatest modern comic book artists. He is. His style is very kind of like animated and also anime, and it really lends well to what they did with the series. Um, yeah, yeah. So I'm excited for the second season. I think you meant Kirkman, which we got. Look, Robert Kirkman, top top writer. He's an excellent writer, and he writes something for every genre. You know, just take the two most popular. You've got Invincible, which is a straight up superhero book, and then you've got Walking Dead, which is a grim end of world, worst of humanity book set in a zombie apocalypse. He did what the hell was the name of that one? The Possession one. Man, it's on the tip of my tongue and I can't remember it. Not Exorcisms. Outcast was great, a great read. Parker, I know about Parker, and those are the detective books, the noir books. Mr. No Love just watched the Invincible show last week. Yes, it's fucking fantastic. I've gone through it 3 times because it's such an easily digestible show. Yeah, Invincible has so many side quests. That's true. You got Guardians of the Globe. You've got the Astounding Wolf, Wolfman. No, not Astounding Wolfman. Whatever it's called. Yeah, he's got. I mean, even Tech Jacket. Tech Jacket was a side character. I'd rather have Invincible than a modified Superman story. Sure, sure, yeah. And I don't even think Invincible's edgy. I think it's more it's amped up. It's turned to 11. Outcast. Hey, yeah, exactly, exactly. That was the name of the show. The show was good. The book was good. I know there's more Kirkman stuff out there. I haven't read Oblivion Song, um, so I can't comment on that. But it seemed pretty well received. Ooh, look at that one. It's pretty cool. So we're back to doing some more packs on Mr. Bernie Wrightson. 17 people in the room. Thank you very much for joining on a SunDAVE sit down. Still, I'm still struggling to figure out how I want to keep the format of the show, but maybe keep changing it up. I think I want to have guests every other week, so I don't have to talk as much, to be honest. Whew. All right. How did you feel about Walking Dead as a comic series in general? All right. So I read Walking Dead. I was aware when it came out, but I don't think I was going to the comic store every week. And when I finally decided to pick it up, I read the first trade and I decided, okay, the compendium was almost going to be released. So I waited for the compendium and I picked up the compendium, and it made it, there were parts of that story that I put the book down and I was like, damn, I got to take a break. When it comes to issue 50, and I if you've never read Walking Dead and you're afraid of spoilers for a 10 or 15-year-old book, then maybe click off for now. But when Rick's wife and child get shot in issue 49 or 50 and they both get killed, that's the first time in my memory that I had ever had to put a book down, and it made me so fucking upset. Like more upset than real world carnage. I read that after, and so Ray, these packs are from 1992. So that was issue 50. So I decided to keep going after the second compendium came out. And I read, no, I didn't get the second compendium. I'm sorry. Then I started buying it in trade. And it gets to issue 100 and they kill Glenn. And I fucking threw the book across the room and I said, I'm done with this. I watched the first 2 seasons of the show and I said, "I'm done with this." So, I will say this, there is no book, no comic book that has ever left me as affected as Walking Dead did on 2 different occasions with those 2 occasions. So, I, like, wanna go back and read it one day and finally finish it, which is funny. I read the final issue 'cause it just came in a collection that I bought, and I just flipped through it, and I was like, "Oh." Um, but man, Kirkman is such a great writer. You to be doing that to somebody, I know that experience with Glenn. A lot of people felt the same way. To do that to the reader is such a hard task, and it seems it's just something that you don't see often. Charlie Adler's art, and I guess Tony Moore did the first whatever 6 or 12 issues. The art's great in it. Being a black and white book, I don't think he gets enough praise for that either, um, because what he did at that time, nobody was doing. And also, let's also got to mention the fact that if it wasn't for him and that book, Image Comics might not exist today. Comics might not exist the way they do today. TV, movies, this shit would not be as prevalent as it is. We would not be as spoiled as we are now if that book didn't exist. Invincible show on the list. All right, Andrew, you got to get it. You got to just watch the first episode because then you'll power through the rest of it. Just don't let you got kids. Don't let them watch. It's a little violent. Oblivion Song is amazing. His second or third best book. Cool. I'm gonna have to read it at some point. Firepower. All I know about Firepower is I just have an issue, the cover that Todd did. Yes. So 92 was the PAX. She cut off his arm in the show. I thought the show was done. That's the thing that it evokes so much real world pain. I was collecting the deluxe single issues and I've fallen off that wagon. Well, the good thing is that he ended it, so it's finite. Like you don't have to worry about trying to catch up at this point. Glenn death across the board. Yeah, of course it did. Everybody liked Glenn. Oh my god, what's going on here? Mouse is freaking out. The comics were way better. Oh yeah, well, the comics were way better in general. The show kind of lost its luster real quick, for me. Looking back at Walking Dead comic really is the only comic that pissed me. See, it does mean something. Comics. I mean, okay, let's talk about the fact that we're all somewhat comics readers in here, whether we're voracious readers or just read stuff here and there. How many times have you gotten pissed off at a comic emotionally? And I don't, and like not pissed off that you know but pissed off emotionally, like your guts were being pulled in and out of themselves. 2 to 3 spinoffs from the show. Oh well, not for me, Armando. But I heard that they were doing uh, a Rick, like what happened to him, but it's just not for me. The show is so far from the comic, and now they're making a whole universe. Yeah, well, that's the problem. Like all these networks. There's another thing I wanted to talk about, but we can talk about it soon. Uh, but I could pick them up, Brady, because you got to ship them to me, and then I got to ship them back. By that point, might as well just buy them. Monsters. Ooh, yeah, yeah. That thing ripped my insides out. That ripped my insides out. Yeah. But that's the thing. Good writing does that. So so far we're citing Kirkman and Barry Windsor Smith. When death killed Wolverine, but it's really Wolverine who is death. I'm not following you on that one. uh, I was pulled emotionally with Daredevil 181 and the death of Elektra. There you go. Another Frank Miller. Don't really need to praise Frank Miller because he is one of the greatest. But yes, Frank Miller writing Daredevil, you get invested in the character of Elektra, and then man, Bullseye just puts the sigh right through her, and it's funny because you could tell that the Marvel probably said to Miller, "Look, you can have it go through her, but you can't have it pierce through the back of her clothing because that would show the full impaling." Only time I was pissed off at a comic was when they brought Peter Parker back in Ultimate Spider-Man. Well, that's because you were pissed because it was a gimmick, but, like, you were they toyed with you because they used a gimmick, and I understand that because I read that also, and I was like, "Oh, that's kinda stupid." So, Astonishing X-Men right before they had Apocalypse come back for an arc. Alright, I didn't read that, so I can't speak to that. Was that part of Whedon's run or somebody else? When was that? Armando. What's up, Dave Walker? I think your name's Dave also. That's right. There's so many Daves. We welcome all Daves here because this is the West Coast Avengers. You know, it's funny. Ever since Bryce, by the way, I want to give a shout out. I know he's not here. He's in Las Vegas. I want to give a shout out to Grandmaster B, otherwise known as Bryce, otherwise known as Done Messed Up, who did the theme song for this program. And it's his birthday. So happy birthday, Bryce, if you're watching this. All right, so Amber just got here, so we're going to start all over. We're going to start with DCU talk, and we're going to go into that. No, we're not. But Amber, you missed it. But you're welcome to join in on the thing that I asked everybody, that everybody's commenting. What was the last time you were emotionally moved, pissed off, angered by a comic for what the comic did? So we started this conversation off talking about Walking Dead, and I talked about the two different times where I was destroyed by that book, when Rick's wife and newborn got shot and killed, and then when they killed Glenn, and I stopped reading it. Trip said Tom King's vision has its moments. I've heard that. I have not read it. That is a hardcover that I've looked at, and I really should buy it, but I just haven't. And of course, I have the single issues, but I'm missing one. Anybody going to C2E2? I don't think I am. I haven't been to C2E2. I was only there once, which is when 2019. I was working for the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. It's a big show. I love Chicago. What is it, Dave? Is it in June? I think it's June, right? Sounds about right. Or it's no, it's right after. It's typically it was right after Emerald City, but I don't know. Mid 90s before I stopped collecting comics. Okay, so that was Age of Apocalypse. Okay, I see what you're talking about. Inferno, what it did to Maddie. I don't remember Inferno. Ray, I think I'm getting doubles in every pack. There's one double in every pack. There has been since I've been opening this box. Yeah, but I mean, not a shift change like that. I mean, like character wise, like something that the writer did to tear your emotions out that pissed you off, but in a way that like, so that's what we were talking about Kirkman and Frank Miller, and we said, who was the other writer? I was just saying, Kirkman, Frank Miller, and Barry Windsor Smith. They're just such good writers that they could piss you off, but then you realize like how good it is that their writing is, that they got you so involved in their story and so involved in their character that it really destroys you. End of March, beginning of April. Yeah, so it's right around the same time as Emerald City. Funny fact with Emerald City, when I worked in the comics industry, the first month I worked was the most tiring 3 weeks of my life. I worked Emerald City Comic Con. Then the next week I went to C2E2. Then the next week I went to WonderCon. Folks, if you want to work in an industry that will never let you feel well rested again, work the Comic Con, the major Comic Con circuit, all of it. They made Jean into a clone. Oh, they made her into a Jean clone, and then made her so mad that she tried to kill Nathan. Yeah, I have no recollection of the Inferno. I just know all the covers and all the books that they were in. But the Jean Grey thing, I mean, that thing pissed a lot of people off because, it was like it killed her off, and wasn't it against Claremont's wishes? I forget what the story is behind that. Oh, we got two of these again. Well, I know I got to rewatch that Claremont documentary, but can't do everything all the time. Are there any other good comic book documentaries besides Comic Book Confidential and the Claremont documentary that anybody wants to recommend or can recommend? I I wish I didn't have to pay for Comic Book Man. I never got to watch that. Or no, not Comic Book Man. What was the Kirkman one? The Secrets Behind Comics? I never watched that. It was on AMC, and now I think it's behind a paywall, just like everything. Guys, I'm not even gonna. The original artwork for a lot of this stuff just sold recently on Heritage, but I didn't buy any of it. I kind of regret it as I've been getting into original artwork recently. Oh, the Crumb documentary. Oh yeah, History of Comics. Okay, yeah, the Crumb documentary is just a fantastic documentary, and it just happens to be about one of the greatest artists in modern history and his family. So that I can totally recommend. Kirkman said they had to water it down. Yeah, that's the problem. Who wants watered down comic history? I want a documentary about EC Comics that pulls no punches. I want a well, the Todd documentary, The Devil's in the Details, is great, but it's very Todd pro Todd centric. Sci-Fi did an Image Comics history documentary, which was good on YouTube, but the one about Batman and Bill Finger is interesting. Well, I've never seen that one. You know, it's a great documentary. It's not about comics, but it's about comic movies. Is the one about the Superman, the death of Superman Lives, the Tim Burton Superman movie that never actually happened with Nick Cage playing Superman. That's a great documentary. Just for the footage that you get to see. The ending of Lone Wolf and Cub had me put the book down. Interesting. I've never read all of Lone Wolf and Cub. It's on my list, but I've never read it all. Claremont wanted her to lose her powers. The editor said no, she should go to jail. Claremont said no, let's just kill her. So he said yes. And then Claremont said only if she doesn't come back. That's what it was. He was going to kill her for good, and they brought her back. Okay, I knew there was something. I just couldn't remember the exact details. I know there are some things about Jim Shooter out there. Yeah. I think they talk about Shooter a lot in pretty much especially every comics documentary has to mention him because he's such a polarizing figure. Thank God we didn't get Cage as Jesus-haired Superman. Listen, looking back on it now and knowing that we all love Nick Cage now. I almost just said Luke Cage. Nick Cage now. I kind of wish we would have gotten it. It would have been terrible, but it would have been one thing we could look at and just rewatch and be like, oh, this is so bad, but it's so good. You know? It's okay to like bad things. Some people think Jar Jar Binks is bad. You saying me so bad? No, me so boom bad general. So, just saying. I'll have to watch the Batman Bill Finger one. Do you know what it's on, Ryan? Oh yeah. So here's I had a point that I was going to make before because I was listening to Robservations earlier today, Rob Liefeld's podcast, which is amazing. And if you really want to, get addicted to a really good podcast, Robservations is fantastic. And there was a point somebody had said something. Oh man, if I think of it, but he did talk about Bob Kane in an episode I listened to recently, and I didn't realize that Bob Kane was kind of a piece of shit. He's awful. The rabbit hole of Jar Jar as a Sith Lord is pretty interesting. Of course it is, because he is a Sith Lord. Jar Jar was the Phantom Menace. Was on Amazon at some point. Okay, I'll check and see if it's on there, Ryan. Maybe I'll watch it tonight. I got you, dog. Oh, this is a cool one. So I'm just getting through this. I got a couple more packs left, and then we'll do something else. I'm going to show you guys the big pickup I got this week, which if you follow me on Instagram, you saw. I've got approximately, I don't know, like 7 packs left. Hoping to pull an auto, but doesn't look like it likely. How about American Splendors? Yeah, that the Paul Giamatti. He won an Oscar for that, didn't he? That was a great movie, American Splendor. In the grand scheme of things, and let me share this again. We'll cut this out real quick, and we'll come back to it. But go back to the stream. Yeah, Amanda Waller. This is the DC Comics stream right here. This is the DC Universe lineup. Brave and the Bold is interesting. Are they recasting Batman for that? Do they even know? But Waller, you know what? Here's the other thing is like this Waller show could end up being like a half Peacemaker show. So they haven't said anything about Peacemaker yet, and that show was too wildly popular not to do another season. So let's get back to the box. We'll finish this off. We'll do something else. The Devil You Know. That's the one. I used to have it on DVD, actually. I owned that movie when it came out. Like a psycho. I bought it. I think I had it signed by Todd. Waller is so far better than yes. Well, she's a better. I love Julie Louis-Dreyfus, but yeah, Contessa's okay. All right, we are getting a lot of the same cards, but I just pulled another hologram. Let's see. Oh, no, I did not. I imagined seeing a hologram. That was weird. The mind plays tricks on you when you're. Oh, that's a pretty interesting card. So yes, this is a 1992 Bernie Wrightson Master of the Macabre box, and we've got 6 packs left. I'm hoping to pull out a Bernie Wrightson autograph. If not, that's okay. These are fun. I will make a set, and then maybe I'll give a set away or something like that after I see if I make 2 full sets. I just got a paper cut from a rapper. Cool, nice. Zen, very cool. Guys, it's almost garage sale season. I'm keep talking to myself and telling me that the weather's getting nicer, which it's not, but I'm really hoping that garage sale season starts soon. I need some garage sales. What's going to happen to Peacemaker? Exactly. I don't know. But Peacemaker, it's James Gunn's show, so why wouldn't he want to? He didn't say anything about it, which wonder if like it's going to be a surprise thing that they did another Peacemaker season. I do cut myself for the live stream. This is the kind of entertainment I bring you all. All right, what do you guys think? I have 5 packs left. Do you think I pull another hologram? Here are the 2 holograms I got so far, which are pretty cool. Let's see. Can't really see them because I have too much light in here. Oh, she's about to make out with a giant fish. No, they can't recast Peacemaker and Suicide Squad. It was too successful and it was too good. Ooh, I haven't seen this card yet. But he wants to go younger since he was planning on setting up. That's true. He did say that, but maybe they'll just move to because I don't know what they're gonna do. Blood on the packs. I bleed on my cards just to make sure that when I go to grade them, that has a piece of my DNA in the slab. As long as Waller has Vigilante. Oh, Vigilante was so good. Okay, so the Bill Finger thing's still on Prime. Cool. I will pop that on after tonight's stream. So it's nice to end the night with a documentary. I watched a documentary today, not on comics, but on one of the greatest singer-songwriters. His name is Leonard Cohen. And it's on Netflix. It's called Hallelujah. No, it was called Leonard Cohen. No, it was called Hallelujah. Dracula's getting staked hologram. He was just chilling. Exactly. Yeah. He was just like, it's a Saturday night, and I'm just hanging out listening to my music. And now I've got a steak in my fucking eye. I don't know why he sounds like a New York Italian Transylvanian, but he does. This is a cool one. So yeah, next this Wednesday, obviously we'll be back doing West Coast Wednesday. Thank you to everybody that continues to join in and buy books, and you guys can also give a big thanks to Jim Healy in the room, because some of the books you've been getting are the Jim Healy pedigree, as I like to call them. They were his collection. All right, we're down to 3 packs. Here's to getting that Bernie Wrightson autograph. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. Leonard Cohen is among the best songwriters ever. He also a fine poet. Yeah, it's right. Oh, Suzanne's such a great song. Oh, it's such a great song. Yeah, if you want to listen to something that sounds like smooth sex in your ears, Leonard Cohen is what you should be listening to. Dave going Van Gogh on us instead of his ears. I am. I will bleed for likes. I will bleed for views. I will bleed for you. Bleed for me is no, it's not a Dead Kennedy song. Is that an X song? Who sings Bleed for Me? Dead Boys? I don't know. Yeah. Shimmin'. All right, last 2 packs. I was going to give away a pack, but then I'm like, but if that pack gets the autograph, I'm going to be really upset. Hallelujah. You are a pedigree. You are a pedigree, Jim. I will have to miss a couple of Wednesdays. IRS took me to cleaners. I got to do that too. Well, you can always join and then talk about Tom Cruise and then send us on a tangent for an hour. Maybe it was the Kennedys. It might have been the Kennedys. Yeah, I think it is the Kennedys. Anyway, the reason why I thought about that song and the reason why I know that song even more than the Kennedys is Pearl Jam covered it. When Pearl Jam covers a song, well, it's usually better than the original, but it always sticks in my head. All right, last pack mojo. How about a signed card? All right. This guy looks like he's having a bad day. All right. Oh, no. Mermaid Kiss. Any mermaids out there? Oh, look, it's Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean. Wonder if that's actually who that's supposed to be. Oh, come on. Gesundheit. Huh. Had that card about 65 times. Ooh, that's a cool one. It looks like there's not going to be an autograph card in this box. Well, I bought one box. Dave Correa bought the other one. So hopefully he gets the autograph and then he'll just give it to me because he loves me. Tell me about the IRS IO saying I made too much money. I look around and say, where is it? Yeah, well, that's the government for you. I got my W-2 from eBay. I have to see if I actually got a W-2 from Whatnot, which means, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Doing my taxes for the first time as a comic book seller. I used to be an independent, not an independent contractor, but I worked events for years. So I did my own taxes, but that was a lot easier because everything was paid for. So it's just the money I made was the money I made. All right, well, that was that. I made shit and I still owe, yeah. Well, because the government wants to take all our money. That's all they ever want. But they don't want to do anything for us because why would they? They're the government. I worked for the government for a year and change, and I've got nothing nice to say about the government. Right, there we go. The autograph card. It'll be like it's both of ours, yeah. All right, I do want to show this off. This is cool. Some of you saw my post on the Instagrams, but I picked up a very crazy rare book this week. Graphic fantasy number one. Now, some of you are like, what the hell is that? And I'm like, well, it's graphic fantasy. And then some of you are going to say, I have to tell you about a graphic fantasy I've had. This book is not just the first published artwork of Eric Larson, but it is the first appearance of the dragon. And we know that he turned into the Savage Dragon at Image Comics, but this is the rarity of this book almost supersedes what this book is important for. Senny, it's right now with eBay, the law that they originally had going into this year was supposed to be $600. It was from the I won't even get into the politics of it because it'll just get me off on a tirade. But they delayed it, so it defaults to the old law, which is 20,000. So if you make under 20,000, they won't send you a 1099. So they're not they're not required to send you a 1099. But next year, if that $600 thing goes into effect, well, if you made over $600 on eBay, then you're gonna get a 1099. I think it's a 1099K. Okay, so graphic fantasy, first published Eric Larson art, first appearance of the dragon. This is published by Ajax Comics, which actually is in Bellingham, Washington. So supposedly, they numbered them, right? So this is 156 out of 200, signed by Eric Larson, Al Harris, and Casey Keyes. The three of them were responsible for publishing this. Supposedly, there's 300 copies that were actually made. How many copies still exist in people's collections or in the wild? It is very hard to tell. I know Eric Larson, I think he finally sold his last three. I think he had 3 copies graded and they sold them. But this thing is 1982, and this thing is like the equivalent of this would be if Malibu Sun 13, which is the first Spawn, if there was only 300 copies of that, and they were all signed. So I picked this up at a local store called Page Turner Books in Kent. I had seen it I saw it like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and I didn't pull the trigger on it. And I said to myself, I said, look, if the next time you go back, it's there, maybe you could offer the guy, he wanted 800 for it, which is on the low end. Like raw, these usually go between 1,000 to 1,500. So I went back the other day. I dropped my friend off at the airport, and I walked in and I said, "Do you still have it?" It's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Can I see it?" And took it out, and I was like, well, "How much do you want for it? 800?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "But it's like it's our 10th anniversary, or it was some anniversary sale they were having, and it was 20% off." So I ended up buying it for about $650, which is a hell of a deal. The offset printing on the front cover is amazing. This thing is just, in my quest to get all these kind of important books that mean something to me when it comes to characters or artists, like this is the hardest book. You put it against something like Albedo 2, which I got last year. I think there's 3,000 copies of that, or 2,000. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 first print, 3,300 copies in existence. Peter Laird actually talked about that recently. How many of those still exist? When you think about it, okay, so in the normal scheme of collecting in comics, right? And I can say this from experience in both sides. We all read comics when we were kids. Most of them didn't survive. They're banged up, or they got tossed out by parents, or they got just tossed around and then eventually, thrown out by whoever. So if you think about it, 300 of these get printed. Let's say 100 of them went into collections that were loved and cared about, are in boxes and closets and still exist. But like when you think about how many comics just go through the daily filter of getting trashed, people move, people get kicked out of their apartments. So this book, I got to imagine if maybe there's 200 left on the planet. You got to imagine a lot of these got fucking tossed. The guy who owned this book, the guy who ran the store, told me. He said, "I almost threw this out." He had a stack of stuff that came from a collection that was like off to the side. That was like, I guess he was going to go through and then just get rid of. And he like glanced at it. And he looked at it. I guess he recognized what was going on here, and he looked it up. This thing almost got tossed out by the guy who owned it, the comic store owner. So it's just, when you think about a comic book store owner almost throwing out a book that's worth over $1,000, how many people threw this out of their collections? The same goes with like Turtles 1 or Albedo number 2. Like, how many of those books, what's the percentage? Do we know? We'll never know. But what's the percentage of those books that got neglected or tossed or misplaced or dumped by the landlord after that person got kicked out of their apartment in Northampton, Massachusetts, or whatever? So I love. Thank you, Senny. Thank you, Flush. Thank you, Mattis. I love just my 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 brain in collecting since I was a kid has always been to go for the rarer stuff. And I'm always more attracted to the rarer items, the rarer books, whether it was cards or comics or records and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, like, Image ended up reprinting that graphic fantasy. They did like a remastered edition or whatever. But there's so many things that will never get reprinted, that will never look the way they looked when they first came out, like EC Comics. Um, any of the stuff from the 50s, it'll get reprinted, but it'll never look like what it did when it first came out. So that was such a huge pickup. And to know that in the last 2 weeks I got two of my, like, I call them modern grails, even though 82 is copper, almost bronze. In the last couple weeks, getting that Crow number 1, and getting that graphic fantasy, and getting the Albedo 2 last year was huge. There's really not, I can't think of too many books that fall into the last 40 years that I'm really still trying to get. Next one on the list for keys is House of Secrets 92, first appearance of Swamp Thing. I've had chances to buy it. I'll get one eventually. But yeah, so that was a big score of the week, and a big score of the year. But yeah, I hope that some of the videos I'm putting out in the next couple weeks will be enjoyed by some of you folks. Oh, the Deadline. Yeah, Deadline magazine's up there. That's going to be a tough one. Like, I don't even almost put that on an obtainable scale, because I don't know how many made it over here that didn't, that might still be in the wild. But hey, you never know. I've found some stuff that I never thought I would find. So Deadline's up there. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Johnny. I wonder, is Deadline, I know Deadline's the first Tank Girl, right? Number 1, but is that Jamie Hewlett's first published art, or did he have some stuff published before that? Do you know, Ray? All right, so I don't know. I'm afraid to do this, but I kind of want to show this finished episode as a preview. Maybe I'll just show like the first 5 minutes of it. What do you guys think? There's 16 people in the room. I recorded. All right, I'm just going to tell you because there's only 16 people in here. I didn't record this. A video showed up on my computer, and it's an entire episode of Comic Tim doing things. And I don't know how it got onto my computer. So I feel like if I put it on the channel, people might just leave. But people seem to be entertained by this guy, Comic Tim. Tank Girl 1, 2, and 3, though. Yeah, those books I need. Those books I need. Get those soon. Well, 2 people just left already, and I didn't even get to show it yet. All right, well, We'll watch some of this together. How about that? Let's get it up on the screen. Where is it? Give me one sec, y'all. Oh, here we go.
People don't like Eric Larson's Spider-Man and they like Mark Bagley more.
Yeah, totally, man. I get it.
Well, you know who I really love? I really love that Clayton Crane, man. He does a great variant cover of Spider-Man every time, and I'm Comic Tim, the foremost expert on Clayton Crane, you know, man? Yeah, I'd be silent too.
Where's Ghost Avenger?
Oh shit! Sorry, guys.
Oh, hey, man. Yeah, man, I know you were hoping for Dave. This is not the West Coast Avengers. My name is Comic Tim.
I don't know how he
And
gets.
you may know
in
me from
video.
such things as Comic Tim's Mystery Box and my shows on Whatnot with Very Fine Collectible Guy and Geeky Female and all of those people. That's my crew. Because I'm Comic Tim. Now, I got rid of that Dave guy. He's always making fun of me. He's always kicking me out of his shows. So I sit here and I'm reading my big old Bank Vault edition. I thought it would be a good opportunity to maybe have this moment with y'all on the YouTubes. I took a very special trip. Well, it was really with myself.
I just have to say, nobody is more amused at this video than myself. So I couldn't stop laughing while I was editing this
following
video.
around this Dave guy. He's another Dave. I think his name's Dave Japan. He's an artist or something like that. I want to show you my trip to Portland, but more so I want to talk about hot comics. You'll want to hear what I have to say about the top 10 comics that I have for you. Don't forget to visit my website, Comic Tim. That's Comic T, and there's 47 I's and then the letter M.org.geocities. You can buy some of my Miss Terry boxes. Now, Miss Terry was my ex-girlfriend, and she ran off with Very Fine Collectibles guy and this guy, the crane artist guy. I'm gonna show you some footage. And it's me walking around talking about comics and art in the science industry and chemicals. The museum in Portland. I'll introduce you to some of my favorite characters and then we'll come back. And we'll talk about some comic books. I saw my comic future and it was rolling like a stone. Now I'm gathering no moss because I'm knocking on the comic door.
He's Austin says Wolfman Jack, and Maddie accused me of Comic Tim being some weird version of Bob Dylan. So we're on the right path here.
Oh, hey, what's up, guys? It's Comic Tim, and I'm here with my friends, Portlandia, and we're over at the Oregon Museum of the Science and the Industry and the, chemicals and stuff. But we're gonna look at some comic art. Now, what is art? We're gonna find out today. I'm gonna draw some things and I'm gonna give them to the museum and say, I'm Comic Tim. Whoa, that's Kamala Khan, otherwise known as Mrs. Fantastic. This is the DC Super Villains exhibit. What do you think, man?
Fucking Comic Tim, man. Why you following me around, dude?
I don't know, man, because your name's Dave and I only have friends named Dave.
How'd you know I was coming here in the first place?
Because I can read your mind. I got Miss Terry on the job.
Can you walk at least 10 feet behind me or something?
Oh, man. Well, now I'm here with Marvel Comics #1, man. And this comic, man, this needs a variant cover. It doesn't have enough acetate on it, man. Wake up, man. Man, I don't know what's going on with this dude. I came in to see Mr. Fantastic, and then the thing is here, and he's just all passed out, and I just want to get his autograph, man, and do an exclusive cover, maybe like a... Oh, man. I'm here with the cat man himself, T-Child. You guys know him from that movie, Wakanda Sometimes. I hope you got to see this, one of the best movies of the year, and that is a Comic Tim movie review. What's up, my wrestling fans? I'm Comic Tim.
See, that's the thing about this, is that all of the facts in here are very, very much under scrutiny. but he does have some good points.
This is Hulk Hogan after he won the World Heavyweight Champion belt at WrestleMania 3. So excited he turned green. Well, I hope you like wrestling. We're going to talk a lot about Hulk Hogan and Hulkamania, brother. Alright, we're heading upstairs to see the second part of the DC Marvel combined art sculpture exhibit. And I'm just trying to tell Dave about how this art was made, but he doesn't seem to really believe me.
Most of what he's saying really isn't that true. You should fact check a lot of what he's saying.
You know, I just think when I told you that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were the same person, you did not believe me, man.
Cite your sources.
Whoa!
See that? He just, it's a very strange thing to watch Comic Tim.
Whoa. We travel to the faraway land of Kumersheesh in search of the pediatrician known as the Strange One, man. And he's the master of magical magic. And now I'm here looking for him. Let's see if we can find him.
Brother! Oh, this is
So here we have one of my favorite characters of all time. This is the Platinum Wave Rider, aka Nolan Ryan. And this is the first cover ever from his ever first comic. And I just think it's amazing. I have this book in a 9.92. I have my friend Clayton Crane working on an exclusive cover for this book. And we're gonna call it Nolan Ryan, the Platinum Wave Man. Yeah, I'm Comic Tim.
Johnny, I had way too much fun doing this.
Well, that was really cool, man. I got to see a lot of these Batman pictures and stuff that people drew, and there was Captain America and the Arachnid guy. But I gotta say, you know, science is amazing, my friends. And I think that you should come to Portland and experience the science of comic books, how they are read, how they are made, and how we can turn them into variant covers. I'm Comic Tim. I will see you soon. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that little trip down.
Now, why the police weren't called on me? Because I walked into that museum with the wig on. Nobody knew that I wasn't touched.
I'm to Portlandia along with my friend Dave Japan. He kind of thought I didn't belong there, and I was just like, hey man, this is a public place. I am a paying patron of the arts and the sciences, alright man? So now, I want to talk to you about hot comics. Now, the West Coast Dave, he always promises no top 10 lists on here, but I am bringing you 10 books that I think you should own right now, and you can get them on Whatnot at www.whatnot.com.comictim. We start off with comic book. Now, this comic book is by an artist from Marvel, and you should buy it. I've got a comic that's so rare and so sought after, you're gonna ask me, Comic Tim, how do I get a copy? And that's X-Men #1 from Jimothy Lee. Jimothy Lee was one of the artists that left Marvel Comics in the 90s to start Sharper Image. Now, Sharper Image turned out to be a store in a mall that sold all these massage things, which I don't understand why he went from comics to that, but that's Jimothy Lee for you. All right, so this is X-Men #1. There's 52 different covers. I have them all. You can buy them on Whatnot, www.whatnot.comictim.com. Next, another creator of the Sharper Image comes Robert Liefeld. He created Deadpool, and he also created Cable in the New Mutants. Rob Liefeld went to Sharper Image, but he brought Youngblood with him. Youngblood was a team that was based off of the people that he went to high school with, including the Rock Dude. So he went to high school with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Rob Liefeld. Now you should buy this comic also on Whatnot, www.whatnot.com/verifiedcollectibleguy/comic. Next up is one of my...
All right. I have to just say this. There's a jingle. I can't remember what it is. I think it's Yahoo. Yeah, the original jingle for Yahoo was Yahoo, And that is where you get Comic Team. All right, back to this.
Favorite characters are Ron Man. Now, Ron Man is an autobiographical picture book from the creator of iRobot. That's Isaac Asimov. Hot book, hot book. Next comes Tom B. Raider. Based off the hit video game Cubert, this actually features a cover from Adam Huggies. Now, you might remember Adam Huggies from such thing. He did the Wonder Woman. He does the big-breasted women. And he has his own Whatnot. It is www.whatnot.com/Adam Huggies. Next up comes the smash hit Harbinger from Valiant Comics in the 90s. Now, Valiant Comics started from Jim Gunman. He was the editor-in-chief from Marvel Comics, and then they fired him after he said, Black Suit Spider-Man, Jazz Hands. And so he started Valiant Comics, and Harbinger was such a great book, man. If you could find this is the pink number 0, limited to
You got it,
14,000
Armando. That's exactly where that
copies,
came from.
Another one of my favorite Valiant comics. Now, Valiant is not the man from the Black Eyed Peas. That is Will.i.ant. So, this is Xo Manoir. Now, it's a word, Xo, and some people say it's X to the O. I don't know. That's another rapper, right? X to the O to the G to the B. Anyway, I'm Comic Tim. You can buy this comic directly from me at www.xoxoxomanoircomicteam.com. 2 more comics left to talk about. Now, if you know
This
anything
is the
about
whole
Comic
video.
Tim, you know his favorite material is acetate. And this is some acetate right here. I've got the Last Avengers story with the acetate
I'm sorry that
cover.
I'm subjecting
So you can
everybody to
find
this.
this on acetatelovers.com/comictm/whatnot geeky female. And finally, I have a book from my
By the way, that was 9 comics.
favorite artist of all time. It's Todd McFearless's Spider-Man. Now, this book shaped a generation of fearful people who did not like spiders. But then Todd McFearless said, hey, man, if you see my spiders, they'll be your friend, my spiders. This book sold approximately 4,900 million 2.7 copies, but this one right here is the only Comic Team copy. If you want to match my shirt and you want to own this comic, please visit www.whatnot.com/McFearless//Comic Team. This is my most recommended comic of the top 10 comics
Yes, Amber.
of right now. I think it goes for everybody when
that.
I say thank you to me for shooting this episode for you, because I am Comic Team. Don't forget, this guy who runs this show, he does some sales on Wednesday, and then Sunday he has guests on, but he never invites me. And I'm Comic Team, and I feel like maybe if we start an online petition for that, I'll be on the
You
show.
did, Sean.
It's called the I'm Comic Team.
Oh, God. Well,
Let's go, Steve Avengers. This is for the B-roll. I'm Comic Team.
Full disclosure, that was a lot of work.
all right. So he does have some good wall art. This is, you did walk in, you walked into, Sean, that was that is next week's episode on Sunday morning. And everybody in here just got to watch the entire episode at a sneak preview, because I needed to just make sure that I could show that to people and it wouldn't be like I was by myself 2 seconds later. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. So it's never going to go back in the bottle. Comic Tim is here to stay. Part of me wants to have a run-in with Tom, and if he knows about this, like if he doesn't find it funny, then I can't help him. Because it's not an assault on the person. It's an assault on the gimmick. Comic Tim does have, yes, he does. He does have some salient points. After the bombs drop, I hope this video is somehow... Andrew, I hope so also. Ray, in my editing process, probably 4 times because, believe it or not, I mean, I guess you can believe it. I put a lot of work into editing my videos to, I optimize them to make sure that there's not too much, kind of like I edit the video in the way that I would want to watch it if I was watching it. But that is one of the things in the pipeline for the next couple of weeks. But I thought that would be a fun way to kind of let you guys in on some fun. My editing process, I send a lot of stuff to friends just to kind of get reactions, which I guess that's the only way to do it. But I hope you enjoyed all of that. So yeah, don't forget. I want to remind everybody. So the book club for this month, we're going to be doing Killing Joke. So the last February of this month, the last Sunday of this month, we will do the book club discussion of Killing Joke, which is the Alan Moore, Brian Bolland classic. And yeah, I think that the DC stuff is interesting. Quantum Mania comes out next week or the week after. I got my tickets to go see that. I'm excited. It's probably, and to be honest, it's the least hyped up I am for a MCU movie. That doesn't mean that I'm not looking forward to it. I'm just not hyped about it. Maddie has seen pieces of it. Maddie, I think Maddie's a little afraid of my comic Tim, because Maddie doesn't like shaking, making waves. As if any of you were in the live sale this Thursday, I made a comment about somebody, nothing offensive, but just I made one of my funny comments, and Maddie's like, "You really like making enemies?" And I'm just here to burn the world down. Well, Amber, it's not. You could get I think Brady pointed out, you could get the Absolute Edition for $12 on Amazon. So, as much as I don't like to advertise for Amazon, when you're buying a graphic novel, you could always pick it up there. So yeah, we're gonna do Killing Joke, and then what I'll probably do is I'll rotate, and then March we'll do something independent, and then we'll come back and we'll do a Marvel DC, and yeah, we'll do some of that. But yeah, that's probably the show. I think we covered all the things we wanted to cover. Talked about the DCU and the DC books and our favorite writers, and we talked about Comic Team. But who knows? Maybe Comic Tim has a Watchmen. Jim is definitely in the works. We are going to read Watchmen. I think that might be a good book to read maybe in the holiday season when people have a little bit more time, because it is, it's 12 issues. Or we do it in 2 parts. We do the first 6 issues in 1 month, and we do the next 6 issues in another month. Sin City is definitely on the docket. Dark Knight Returns, Days of Future Past, Old Man Logan I want to do. Weapon X I want to do. Has East Coast Adventures disowned you yet? They have not disowned me yet. At this point, if they disown me, I think it's a disservice to them, because they're getting older, and I'm still young. Did we cover the entire catalog of Information Society? No. What is? Oh, we could do a comic movie discussion. We could do a double. We could do a Watchmen discussion of the book, and then the next month we could do a Watchmen discussion of the movie, and we could go for a trifecta and do the Watchmen show. Because if you haven't seen the Watchmen show, holy shit, probably the best comic book show, period. I can only say that in confidence right now because Sandman's not done. Information Society. We're going to cover also the Marvel Handbook A to Z. So you guys better do your fucking homework. Just kidding. But the show was awesome. Yes, it was. Yeah. Watchmen was perfect from first episode to last. From directing, from writing, to the score, to the acting. If you haven't seen Watchmen from HBO from right before the pandemic, so it was 2019, or it was 2019 into 2020, or it was early 2020. Holy damn, we could do what Wizard Magazine got right in their casting of comic movies. They did so many that they got wrong. I would have to like it would be hard to call up the ones that they got right. You know, Senny, it would be fun to pick up the Book of the Dead, the Handbook of the Marvel Universe Book of the Dead. So, as always, a show where I don't spend money was great. Well, I'm glad I could provide you with that, Ray. But you know, if you don't show up Wednesday, you're never gonna know what you missed out on. No, that's just awful. That's awful for me to say. I'm gonna give away a new sub. Well, I think that's gonna call it for the night. 2 hours and 5 minutes of me talking without a break is a lot, especially when I do it for 4 hours on Wednesday. But don't forget to smash the like button. Please, if you haven't watched the video that I dropped this morning, watch it. When it gets goosed in the algorithm, all that stuff. But please, if you could look, 17 of you, I love you all. Get one of your friends to subscribe. Just one. Doesn't even have to be one that's alive. All right. Anyway, thank you, Jim. Thanks for showing up. Flush, you my man. Thank you, Johnny. Dolly Parton Rogue, please make that happen. Yes, and Kenny Rogers is going to play Wolverine. All right, Ryan. Thank you, everybody, for coming in tonight. I had a great night. This was a lot of fun. Always a good time and always good conversation. And thank you for letting me have this space. And thank you for coming in. And I'm sorry about Comic Tim, but he's here to stay. All right, everybody. We'll play it out, and I'll see you either Wednesday or next Sunday. Oh, that's right. He's got to be rolling.
West Coast Avengers. West Coast Avengers.